Good morning. Good morning. This is Spirit Journey, and it is now about 8:47 a.m. in the morning. It's January 2019, and it's Sunday. Yes. And I'm still in bed, as you see. Well, I was watching some videos, as usual, and I have some questions. I'm going to watch these videos as a means of getting information. And as you know, not everything that you hear and see on the internet is true, but I watch it as a means of opening up understanding and just getting information to get me thinking, to try to understand my life. So, the interview that I saw, I'm not going to mention any names of the interviewer or the interviewee, only that the person being interviewed was an officer in the military, an Army officer. And for those of you who don't know, I was in the military also. I was in the Navy. And the question I have is about the secret space program, and the interviewee mentioned something that really stood out to me. Now he went through officer training, but when he mentioned something about what they call a, get this, a desensitization program that lasted 3 years. This desensitization training he had entailed to become used to seeing beings. He mentioned extraterrestrial and uh, dimensional, extra dimensional beings. So that means beings that exist in the physical world, planets, out there, and beings that are in a different dimension. Isn't that something? So I started thinking, and again, as the title reads, about the secret space program from a black perspective. I'm a black woman, veteran from the Navy, and my experience as this type of person, and again, I live in America. And the experiences that I had as a black person living in America. And so when this veteran mentioned, officer veteran, was a part of the secret space program, and he worked on different planets. And before he went to these different planets, he was given a 3-year program, training program, to be used to beings that were different from him. I forget what year he went. It could have been in the 1990s. Yeah, he is younger than me. I went in the 1980s, the military. So this 3-year program, because they thought it was important enough to have this, and if you couldn't function with, yes, good morning, viewer, good morning, Yes, I hope you're doing well. Yes, you can just if you didn't already write, you could write and say hello, so I could say hello back if you already didn't. Well, either way, so this veteran, this army officer, had 3 years to get used to beings that were different, not just physically different, but existing in a different dimension. Now, when I went into the military, I went in the Navy, and boot camp was in Orlando, Florida. Now, in this boot camp, there wasn't that many not that many black people. There was myself, this other girl from New York, another one, I think she was from the South, and then there was a mixed race one that was incognito. She was a nice girl, though. And that was it. That was obvious to me of black ancestry. And then I know we had two Puerto Ricans and a Filipino. Outside of that, the people were Caucasians, blonde, most of them blue-eyed. Virtually all the whites there had blue eyes. And some of the whites were biased. They made it known about their attitudes about black people. One was eventually kicked out. She was from the deep south, and she did do drug. She was doing drugs. It turned out. Yeah, in the military, in boot camp, when they discover that you have drugs in your system, illicit drugs in your system, they'll kick you out. She was very defiant, and one day she said something. She, by implication, she was saying that she didn't have to study as hard as the black girl because of her race. The black girl was inferior, and being that the other girl, the white girl, she doesn't have to work as hard because she's naturally intelligent. She's trying to say that white people are smart and black people are dumb. In a nutshell, she did eventually get kicked out. There were another girl uh, was pinching me on my arm because she feels that she has to correct how I'm standing at when we had to muster. Another big white girl, she was a giant. She was way over 6 feet. I don't know how she got in because there is a weight limit, and this girl was really big. And I see how some of them are, they, 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 they will do what they feel they can get away with. I had a company commander, a white there were two company commanders, the white man, and then he had a black woman, but the white guy was in charge. And they had the woman there because it's a female division. The we were all women. So I think to understand women, you have to have a woman also there because women are different than men. She was nice, that commander, the black woman, very nice. Um, but the white man there was he didn't like me, and he would say certain comments of his disapproval of seeing a black person um, being the first on the line in someone else's command. Like the enlistees in boot camp, they would have like someone in the front of the line, almost serves like a leader. To, you like you always have to follow the person in front of you when you're uh, walking in. I forget what you call it. Oh, I forget it. It'll probably come to me. But you walk in one line, and so you have a person in front, and someone else's. You think of it as a classroom. Someone else's classroom. They had um, a woman, but it was a black woman, and he says out loud, "What is this black woman being in the front of the line?" Things like that, and some of the things he would say to me. And it's all like a superior game. Now, when I went in the military, I went into, I love my country. I wanted to be a part of my country. I wanted to explore the world and everything. But I asked myself, like, why, if you're, if, because I understood as someone being in the military, even though women back then in the 1980s weren't required to fight in battle, but the fact that you are military and your life may have to be sacrificed, and I understood that. I understood that there was going to be certain dangers. So the fact that you're potentially going to be sacrificed for the greater good, why mistreat your fellow enlistee? So I start to think that some of these white people made it known on their dislike, and it seems to be a disparity between like schooling. A lot of the so-called lower level jobs are heavily served by black people, not whites. Not that it was one, but all the rest were American blacks. And then you had, I mean, of course, you have blacks in better positions. I was in a good position. I had gotten a good school and I graduated from, I mean, when I say school, after boot camp, you are sent to what they call an A school, and you get training. So I started, so I'm amongst people from all over the state. And you have people, I mean, some people are very, very nice. I met some very nice people there. But it was an element of racism solely because of being black. It's not, I didn't see, I didn't see so much, like in the military back then, there was black and white. And then they just had a slither of Hispanics back then. But the targets were really black people, target against. So now, with that type of background, and living in America in the 1980s, things were very hostile against black people. All these things that go on. And yes, black people aren't perfect, but black people are targeted in America historically. You see an American black or any black in the Americas, whether they be mixed race, mixed with European, mixed with Native American, they're still people of the black experience. And because of that, they're treated a certain way. They live in certain types of communities. They usually live in poverty, especially Latin America. So I'm thinking about this man who's being interviewed about the secret space program, and that he had a 3-year desensitization schooling so that they would get used to the aliens, dimensional, extra dimensional, and extraterrestrial, so they could work together and things like that. So how come? So this is the meat of of this live stream. So how come they don't have a desensitization program for the public in America? We're fighting each other. We discriminate. We some places when I was growing up in the 1980s, the early 1980s, I couldn't get certain jobs just because I was a black woman. I was going for a job that was in my line. It was a secretarial job. Had my resume. The guy, he was a white man, and he was awful. And he started mocking me. But I was very naive because I was very young. I might have been 19 at the time. I was a very naive person. And I just didn't understand racism. I didn't understand the mechanics. If I was from the South or something like that, I'd probably understand more clearly what was going on. But I was born and raised in the North and from a Caribbean background. And you find Caribbean people, even though it's a similar history, but in the Caribbean, most of the people are of black heritage, whether they're light or dark. Everybody knows everybody. You're all in the same boat, so to speak. But this thing, this this attitude existed. And if you have a desensitization program, and in America, all this chaos that I couldn't even get a job just because of his perception about my race. In the 1960s, it was the buffoonery of black people. 1980s, it was the villainization of black people. And the 1990s, of the gangster rap villain. And now we're going back to the buffoonery. Like there's a movie that I believe it came out with Hart. I forget his name, full name, but his last name is Hart. And he's doing the buffoonery, the black buffoonery. He's like a home health aide, stupid, and he's minding this rich white man. Okay, it's still the same old, same old. And I don't understand this nonsense, why they're promoting this hatred for the black in America. And they think because they have now commercials, if you notice, commercials with a black woman and a white man. I'm starting to see a lot of this. And black men with white women. They seem more open to have a black man with a white woman than the reverse, a black woman with a white man. At least my perception. But you tell me what your perception is. You can write it below. So, if the Secret Space program has its desensitization program, a 3-year program, why won't they implement a desensitization program for the public, for the schools, for the job market, to teach about people, all different types of people? You use black people in the military. We serve very well. We do very well in the military. And I've met West Indian people, West Indian born people serving in the U.S. military, and they serve very proudly. We prove our loyalty to white America. So why are we being mistreated? Why are we considered the buffoon? Why are you treating us like that? They might show two extremes, the buffoon, or they show this thug, or sometimes the intellectual. Not as much the intellectual, but it's confusing to me, this attitude. So this leads me to believe that what's happening in America, in the media, what you see on television, social media, is by design because they want you to fear black people, and they're instigating black people to react in a violent manner, to do what you see out there. They want you to see the angry black woman that's very mannish, or now the homosexual black man. They want you to see that, or they want you to see the hip hop thug. But it's all fear. It's fear based. Why do they do this and target us if historically we've been very, very helpful and kind and generous to white people in America? And some of you may say, what do you mean generous? You don't have money? What do you mean generous? Well, during the time of slavery and the antebellum era, we cooked their food, we breastfed their white children, we worked for them for pennies, and yet we worked very hard to please them. We were a white people pleaser because we were outnumbered, and all these terrorists, such as the Ku Klux Klan, was there to do us harm if we got out of check. Why did the system even create the Ku Klux Klan? But yet their secret space program is investing in the desensitization program so that the military people there could work well with the aliens. Doesn't it sound ridiculous? They talked about in this video, they talked about how you had this breakaway German group that moved to the Antarctic. And I asked myself, now if the Germans slash Nazis were so dangerous and did crimes against humanity, why would the Allies allow them to form a splinter group in the Antarctic and allow them to build these equipment and ships and who knows what in this place? It sounds ridiculous. So it's leaving me to believe that what we saw in World War II was just the cover story upon many cover stories. Just something that you see, a distraction. It all was a distraction, I believe, with all the, because it doesn't make sense. You're going to say the Germans, the slash Nazis, were vicious, dangerous, crime against humanity, making lampshades out of people's skins, etc., and then allow them to have free reign to, and white supremacy, to have a colony somewhere else on the planet. They have colonies in South America, all over the world, they said. I thought they were dangerous people, the Nazis. the bad Nazi. And how would Israel not know about this? Isn't Israel that country formed because of what the bad Nazis did to them and they wanted a place of refuge? And they have a government called the Mossad. It's like the CIA equivalent to that we have in the U.S. It's called the Mossad. And they go all over the planet, different countries, to promote their will. And so if you are in American politics, you become a senator or congressman or woman, you have to sign paperwork that says that you're not going to say anything anti-Israel. You're going to support Israel. It's a contract. And if you don't sign it, you will be thrown out. Or they make it that you don't get the position if you're running for office. They'll do something to you. And this is a foreign country interfering with American politics. So who's the victim? Who is the real victim? Is Israel the victim? Or they're on the power seat and they're forcing American government that they have to side, that you cannot say anything anti-Israel. If you say something against their politics, I'm not talking about saying things against Jews, because not all Jews live in Israel. But if you say anything against their country, you will be blacklisted. And so they have a lot of power, and they're all over the different countries. So don't you think they'll probably have influence over this splinter Nazi group that's allegedly in the Antarctic? You don't think they have politics there? This video that I saw said that they have at the UN. The UN is in Manhattan, in New York City, way on the east side, right by the water, the Amsterdam River, I think it's called. I forget. But they said one of the buildings there is to house this special German group, this splinter group that's separate from everybody else. One of the buildings there. I never heard of that. Well, which building? And it's our tax dollars, New Yorkers, that pays for the UN. Our tax dollars. So we're paying our tax dollars for this Nazi group. Once a Nazi, always a Nazi. They might say, oh, no, it was just a bunch of German people. They weren't not. No. During World War II, all the Germans there, to live, you had to belong to the Nazi party. But it does not mean that all were criminals. You had little children, and by law, you all considered Nazis. And you all, were controlled by the state. So why would this group be a splinter group and not be associated with the Nazi group? If they had all this technology and spacecrafts, you don't think that Hitler got out? He got out. He didn't die in the bunker. No, he didn't. There are plenty of videos about him. I forget the name of the channel, but you just go and write down about Hitler survived or something like that. You'll find videos and researches on the subject. He did not die in no bunker. He escaped. he had gone, they said, to South America. They have a German-like city in South America that was built for this one of these like splinter groups. Before World War II, massive numbers of German people were brought over to South America to set up shop. See, this is all planned. World War II was planned. How come no one was really knew about this group in South America? And if they have all this white supremacy, why are they going to live in a place like there, like Latin America? And they sent them there, Hitler. And then they also sent them to the U.S. Why did they send him to the U.S.? Hitler. Well, he was sent here for medical care. Some people say he died in the 1980s. He was a very old man when he died. Some say even later. But the fact that he died a very old man and he was brought to the U.S. for medical treatment. Now, many of the doctors, and I'm not trying to sound stereotyping, but many doctors in the United States, and for someone to have that type of clearance, I would imagine that someone like Hitler, he would have a, a special unit, a special protection, a VIP, and you have special doctors to handle VIPs. And many VIP type doctors, many of them are Jewish. And so these people, now again, Hitler would be a, what do you call it, a terrorist, a crime against humanity person, and he should have been arrested, right? But that didn't happen. So how come the Jewish people, the Jewish doctors, if they were treating him, they should at least know about him being in the United States? Because again, you have the Mossad. And they have spies everywhere. You have many Jewish people in the United States. And they have a very strong network. So how could they let that one pass them? Unless it's the cover story. And the cover story is create a melee in Europe. Have many German people go and hide in many different locations in the world. But even before the war started, World War II, create a distraction called the Holocaust so they can have these breakaway societies in Antarctic, other places, have a desensitization program like this person being interviewed is telling us about the aliens that were extra dimensional and extraterrestrial to get used to what they look like so you can work with them, but yet they don't want to work with Jewish people, black people, the undesirables. This is BS. We are being taught BS, the history. The real history is the history we're being told is BS. But the truth is out there. People are saying they don't like black people, even though historically we've served them honestly. We served in all their wars and conflicts with loyalty and with valor. But yet, even after World War II, there are blacks that served in World War II. And I was told that when the black soldiers were coming back, they segregated us to the back of the train, and they allowed the Nazi prisoners in the front, And they gave the Nazi people that were prisoners of war sandwiches and food to eat and not give our black soldiers. So I'm really pissed about that. So they're going to be like a so-called Nazi terrorist, and then they're going to vilify black people from serving and again, back then it was segregated. The military was segregated. They did not want to even serve with black men. And they did have black women, but mostly men, black men. So we had to live in separate quarters, all this stuff. But yet they're having a desensitization program to teach white people primarily how to get along with aliens. People, please. People. Does this make sense? Or is this all a cover story? Not a cover story, a distraction. This is all a distraction, people. That's what I'm getting at. Yes, there's discrimination against black people and other people all over the world, gypsies, um, Native Australians, Native Americans, all these people. But yet they're more focused on aliens from another planet to desensitize so you can work with them with ease. Shouldn't they have that for the public here in the United States to stop this um, fighting, stop this drug abuse? But see, all this is by design. The design is to cause chaos, to cause infighting, so you don't notice what's really going on. What's really going on, people? Oh, I see your message down below. I don't have my glasses on right now, but I'm definitely going to read it when it uploads. Thank you, people. Yes, right. Continue to write your comments. Continue to write and share. See, I'm sharing because I want us all to wake up. I need to wake up. You need to wake up. My country, my planet, we all need to wake up. We're being deceived. You can have a desensitization program, yet you're teaching people and harming blacks to live on the street, drug infested, lacking hope, being forced to live in what they call ghettos, social ghettos. You can't really get out. You're always beneath mainstream white society. But then now they want you to feel like you're accepted because they're having some commercials with interracial couples. Screw interracial couples. Interracial couples does not mean the end of discrimination and oppression. It is a pacifier. All that is a pacifier until they launch another attack on you. They want to pacify, and then they get the weaponry against you. See, if you think everything is getting good, then you relax and your defenses are down. Well, they're going to do an attack, a real attack against us. And I don't want that. I don't want anyone harmed. I don't want any race harmed, any religious group harmed. But we're being played. A desensitization program, but yet you can't get certain jobs. You can't live in certain neighborhoods still. You get in there, you get in these some neighborhoods, they run out. They don't create neighborhoods of plushness, of leisure for black people. After World War II, they were creating, in the United States, they were creating homes, homes for the veteran who's coming home for the military from World War II. It was a big boom in the 1950s. They created a town called Levittown, and Levittown was developed by a Jewish man out in Long Island, New York. I'm sure there were more cities like Levittown all over the United States, but since I live in New York City, I know about Levittown because it's in New York. It was exclusively white. They might have had, excuse me, they had one black family, a husband and wife, and that was it in a whole township. They made other communities, but the communities were made for white veterans and not black people who served and gave up their life. And that's what I'm angry at. But yet they're having a desensitization program for you to love some fucking alien. Excuse my French. I'm angry because the more I think about it, the more angry I get. Because I am a veteran and the things that happened to me while serving in the U.S. military. I loved being a military person. I loved it. But there was bad things going on too. But I love my fellow veteran though, and those who are currently serving. Once a veteran, always a veteran, and I love and respect all who are currently serving and not serving. But as you see, it doesn't make sense, people. It doesn't make sense. Towns, brand new towns and shopping centers, and none of them designed for black people to live in. What they did develop for blacks, and of course, a lot of black people now are saying, because they're so upset and so distraught and so traumatized, they now no longer want to say that they're black. They say now, oh, I'm Native American, Indian. Oh, really? Well, whether you're going to classify yourself as a Native American Indian, they're still lynching you. It doesn't matter what you call yourself, it's what you are and what white people see, and they see it's someone that they want to destroy. And you don't get it. Many of you don't seem to get the idea. You don't get it. I could call myself Chinese. I could call myself a Native American Indian, a Pocahontas. I could call myself Hawaiian. I could call myself anything. It's what's in the mirror that counts. People, black people, wake up. You think calling yourself a Native American Indian is going to protect your life? Wake up. So, I love you guys. I love you. I speak from my heart. I speak with truth to wake you up. Here, a desensitization program for military people to love, I shouldn't say to love, to work with aliens and extra dimensionals. Yet they can't build beautiful schools of education for you, black man and woman, or decent homes. What they created for you instead is what they call a ghetto. Nazis put people in ghettos. Ghettos actually is an Italian word that means gate. A little gate, that some of these cities literally had a gate surrounding a concentrated area where these people live. It was to lock in a people. Why are we being locked in? What do we do to get locked in a region and not be a full participant of society? When you say that you live in a ghetto, you are saying that you are um, discriminated against to be a full participant of that society, and that they're going to limit how much you could interact with white people. And then again, you have the honorary whites who are usually from East Asia that they use, that they allow more mobility. So here you have all these new groups come into the United States who don't really serve in the U.S. military, but you black man and woman, you certainly do serve in the military. But yet they don't trust you, but they bring in all these new immigrants who haven't really shown loyalty, but then they're going to vilify you, and you've been here for centuries? Wake up! Wake up, people. Wake up, America. This is disgusting. Using your tax dollars to have a training program to desensitize people, allegedly people from the secret space program, to be able to work with these aliens of different textures, but yet they can't build beautiful homes for black people. Instead, they have them in ghettos with lead paint, and then they put drugs in our neighborhoods, addictive drugs, to destroy their minds, and then to set up series of events to make it so that the black people, the black men, kill other black men. And then the black women are stressed out, and some of them thugging other black women or thugging other people and acting like a man. Look at them. The black women are acting like men who live in the ghetto, and I'm sorry, the black women are acting like men, and the black men are acting like women. I hope I said that right. I get tongue confused sometimes. But yeah, the men are starting to act like women, and the women are acting like men. And if they sometimes when they see someone that's doing well in the community, they want to attack them. Like what happened to me on the train over a year ago, a little over a year ago. These two women were thugging me on the train. I was on my way to visit um, my mom. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Why are we fighting ourselves? We're fighting ourselves. We need to wake up. We need accountability. Listen to these programs about these secret space programs. What's going on? Are you being messed with? Are they using special weapons to make you act violent? Are you taking what they call these vaccines? Some people believe the vaccines are feminizing the men, and maybe it's masculinizing the women. Hello? They're creating a new type of society. Just look around. It's changing so quickly. They're importing people from East Asia, yet I thought East Asia was communists. Why are they letting people from communist nations or former communist nations in high positions? And they're working in the VA office, the VA hospital, I should say. They're working in there. I went in there to get my eyeglasses, and the lady's talking in Russian. And she was over the American fellow. It was a woman, I'm sorry. Two women, the Russian lady and the black American woman. So they're bringing all these foreigners from, in my opinion, questionable backgrounds. So it's leaving me to believe that it is a distraction, these things that I'm seeing. It's a distraction of the oppression that's happening to black people, the drugs, the gangs, the sicknesses, the all these things. We're being manipulated and distracted so that you don't ask questions what's going on. Start paying attention to these secret space programs. Again, I don't believe all of them, but some of them you got to think. You got to start asking questions and examine what's going on. Why all this hatred against blacks? Why are other minorities, so-called minorities, living in the United States are attacking black people socially in their own way? They don't hire us. They don't want to be associated with us. Why is this? Because they want you to feel like the victim and they want to cause strife because they don't want you to really ask questions about where your money is going. Why are they promoting drugs? And it's already known that the alphabet agencies are the one that's bringing in and importing the illicit drugs. So why they focus on black people? We're not in those ABC agencies. They don't want us there because we would know what they're doing to the black community. They segregate. They're vilifying. But the real villain is the person that works in these agencies who know about the secret space program, who are allegedly kidnapping people. There's kidnapping going on. And a lot of black people are being kidnapped. Where are these black people going? Some of these programs on YouTube that discuss the secret space program or the super soldier program, as they call it also, they're kidnapping people in these. They claim that it's a special blood type or special genetics they're looking for. But I don't know how true that is because black people here on Earth are being highly selected, they are being selected to work here in the they want blacks in the military here on planet Earth. So you're not going to use them for outer space? See that? Doesn't make sense. So why all this? Why all the chaos? Because they don't want you to ask questions and know where your money is going and supporting. They are kidnapping, they're allegedly kidnapping all types of people. Black people are being kidnapped and white people. All these things. Where are they bringing them to? Well, if they have a colony, who are they going to use to build the colony? Hello? Hello out there. Who are they going to use? They're not going to, these German people are not going to do the work themselves. They're lazy because they believe in white supremacy. They're not going to lift a finger. They're going to use you, black man and woman. They're also using them for sexual stuff. They will mention some of it sounds crazy, but I'm just going by what was being said, that they kidnapping some of the women for sexual favors to give to these aliens. Isn't that disgusting? I don't know how true it is. But if it is true, that is crime against humanity, crime against women, crime against women, and it has to stop. See, I was raised in a very, you know, television, only believe what I can see, hear, feel, smell, touch, you know. I didn't believe in anything super. It was all make believe, supernatural stuff, aliens, all just a make believe story. That's how I thought. And then I became a Christian, a born again Christian, and then something said no. For about 4 years ago, not 2013, I stopped going to church, and I said, look, I need to, I need more. I need to expand my thinking. My thinking wasn't expanding as a Christian. Religion is used to keep you um, limited. I knew of people who said, if it's not the Bible, I will not read it. So they won't read a textbook, a history book, a math book. It has to just be the Bible. I kid you not. I kid you not. So isn't that being narrow minded? They want you to, they want women to feel limited and controlled. Women are controlled by religion. And so this is where I'm seeing that you had a society formed, is formed by men primarily, to hold and oppress women and other ethnic groups or race or whatever you want to call it. It's all about control. It's a hierarchy. Control is about hierarchy. So I believe that these societies, I believe that there are extraterrestrials. I now believe. And that possibly these extraterrestrials or dimensionals have influence over planet Earth. I don't know. I mean, I it's just something I believe that is true. And another reason why I think it's true is that, I looked I I have this poster. Again, when my development, when I left the church in 2013, I mean, I didn't leave on the bad terms. I just one day, it was the last Sunday of the year, and I decided at that time that would be my last day in church. But I allowed myself to ask questions, and then I saw something over the internet. It was a poster that's entitled, uh, like I am here or we are here. It's a picture of our alleged Milky Way, our galaxy, and then it has like a little dot and a little arrow pointing to where our planet and sun is. It says that we are there, and I looked at it closely, and I said to myself, I know that we're not the only one. If we live there, and everything else is all the same. It's like a pasture land. You have plants there. You got plants in that other plantation. So but you look at the galaxy. What makes that speck different from the speck that's next to it? So if there's planets around our sun, why can't there be planets around the other suns? And with that, why can't there be human life or, beings on these other planets? Yeah. So I bought it and framed it nicely as an encouragement to me to go beyond what my Bible told me. What the people see the Old and New Testament was See, you have the words on paper, but see, that's not alone. I mean, it's not alone that you have words on paper. It's how it's interpreted. And whites use the Bible to harm its subjects, to oppress. And I believe that with different so-called civilizations, I believe that there were civilizations upon new civilizations, and they used the same type of Bible to oppress the people that they conquer. And this is just a modern day oppression in the use of the Bible. That's just a theory I have. It's just my opinion. It's nothing new, Bibles or types of Bibles. I believe that it was implanted, the type of Bible, by these beings from other worlds that implanted it upon us to control us. I believe also that blacks, Native Australians, Native American Indians, South Asians, Pacific Islanders, and the like are indigenous people of planet Earth. Yes, I believe we're indigenous of this planet. And I believe that the white people that you see are the aliens and that were sent here, and that they were sent here to control, to expand to every corner on the planet, and to exploit the resources, which include people slash slaves, the minerals, the plant life. Because look what happened. Like, they had asked white scientists, they asked, like they know where blacks come from and all these other people, they know where we come from. But they were asked about Europeans, where do they come from? And they don't know. They know. They don't want to say where they're from because it will out them. They do not come from Earth. They mix, though, just a little enough with the indigenous people here. Just a little bit. But it seems like a natural separation that they have towards the planet, the people of this planet, and the animals on this planet. There is like a stigmatized that they have against others. But the MO seems like they come in near, they intermarry with the ladies, the native ladies, and then they bring a whole slew of men and their women, their own women, and they have what they call colonies, settlements. And then they start oppressing the indigenous people, just like what they did in South Africa, just like what they did in Mexico. That's how they did it. They initially intermingled with the indigenous women, and then they brought in their whole crew, and then they destroyed them. And I think they're programmed to do just what you see that they do, because a lot of things, what they do, don't make sense. Why, when they come in and they produce, let's say, they take over an area and they do well, they build nice buildings, they have those luscious farmland and produce, and then they do something, they still try to attack you, even though they have their abundance. Why do they want more when they have enough? Well, they're here to take over. And I think that they're producing the massive amount of food and stuff like that, resources, slash the transatlantic slave trade to take extra labor, forced labor, human trafficking to acquire more goods, cotton, sugar, tobacco, alcohol, all this stuff. Why do they need all that? They have abundant. Well, people, don't you ask yourself a question, why they need it so much? Well, like a virus, they're brought here to do the dirty work of the aliens. And they're using this extra surplus of food, cloth, etc., and bring it out to these other planets. There's no reason for the transatlantic slave trade for 400 years. Why do you need all those supplies? You can't eat all that sugar. You don't need all that cotton for clothing unless you're importing it to these underground bases, these spacecrafts. People only talk about, like they said, that World War II, but it was known before World War II ever started, spaceships. And I'm sure these things didn't just develop in the 1930s either. But it's before the incident of alleged UFOs, according to the Nation of Islam. And there was a program about this incident that happened in California. I think it was LA. All these spaceships were around. And this was before World War II. So the Nation of Islam and this other program, white program, talked about it. But we all hear about Roswell, which was right after the war, or right when the war was ending in the 1940s. I don't think things just happened. They're paintings. I saw over the internet paintings, I think it was medieval paintings, European paintings, and they show spaceships. They show like what looked like a flying saucer in the sky, and these rays coming down, and it was like a picture of the baby Jesus and his mom, and these rays of light from the spaceship flying saucer coming down on them. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? So even in the Middle Ages, you had spaceship sightings, and people drew them. These spaceships are not new. And if you have people from outer space working with people in government now, they did it back then too. They did it 500 years ago, 1,000 years ago, etc., etc. You see drawings on these stone, what do you call it, petroglyphs, drawings on these stone walls of what look like aliens and spacecrafts. They're not telling you. They're hiding true history. They're hiding it from you. That's why I'm saying, open up your eyes. Start going outside of the box. Ask yourself questions, even the wildest of questions, because there are answers to them. It opens up thought so you can start thinking and then becoming more aware of what's going on. And you know what else that I suggest you guys do is to meditate. and meditate with what's called intention. And you're going to start seeing things that you won't believe. You just relax your body, close your eyes, and you say, I want to understand such and such, or I want to see such and such, or whatever. And it's a focus, with a focused intention of intent, can be very effective, and you're going to experience something in your meditation, and it's going to open up your eyes. I was introduced to meditation also right after I left church. That was in 2013 when I left. And then I think it was April of 2014, I said, I want to try this meditation because I thought it was spiritual. So I left one system, the Christianity, and I said, I want, this looks spiritual. And that's how I began. And I experienced things that I did share on my channel. But I invite you to do the same and give a word of protection before you do anything like that, any type of meditation, to put yourself in the correct mindset of goodness. Don't do it in a state of fear, but of peace and joy and happiness. And you give a word of intent, a word of protection for yourself and your environment. And things are going to start opening up. You're going to start seeing things. And so I believe that I saw things during my meditation session. I saw things. And because of that, I do believe in the space program. And that I believe, I shouldn't say I believe, but that now I know that there are certain type of spacecrafts and certain types of beings because of experience, personal experience. And I'm a newbie at all this. But just imagine those people who do it for a living, the meditation and all things like that. I know I'm not the only one that experienced these things. So I invite you again, do the same. Start meditation. Start asking questions and ask for revelation so you don't be deceived as I've been deceived all my life. All my life I was deceived and disempowered. But I give a word of prayer for anyone who watches this video, anyone who's watching. I give a word of prayer to you and the future viewers of this video, if you're courageous enough to even watch this live stream. I pray that your eyes be opened. I pray that you see the deception out there. I pray that you are safe. I pray that you discover who you really are. I thank you all for watching this live stream. I thank you all. Peace and safety to all people on this planet. Not just black people, but white people. They're exploiting white people also, but especially to Black America and blacks all over our planet. Again, I wish you well and joy out there. Bye-bye, guys.